All right, we should be live, but as usual, the annoying YouTube protocol, we will check when we're live and then we'll get started. Okay, folks oh, somebody says started. Yes, we've already started. If you can just confirm if the AV is clear. Siddharth, clearly you're very eager to start. So let us know if the AV is clear and then we will get started. All right, I'm going to wait for feedback. Okay, looks like we have started. At least on my phone, we have. Awesome, awesome. The first message that I got saying AV is clear is from nobody. I'm hoping this applies to everyone. So let's get started. Okay, welcome, folks. Welcome, everyone. This is personally for me, this is one of the most exciting sessions that I'm doing on this channel. I mean, I keep doing live streams, but by far, this is one of my favorite streams. It's my favorite time of the year. As a teacher, I see my students, I see our students converting some fantastic schools, and there's no better time for a teacher than that. So personally, I'm very, very excited for this session. As you know, this session is about 3 of our superstar students from CAT'22 who braved through CAT preparation, worked very hard, persisted, went through ups and downs, and ended up converting some of the best schools in India. Okay, so sitting in front of you are 3 BLACKI converts who are headed to the best, not only the best schools in India, but also the best schools in the world. And for what it's worth, I am incredibly proud of them and very, very excited to have them here. Okay, so awesome. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to quickly introduce them. So we'll start with Chaandini. Chaandini, welcome. Chaandini is from Chennai. She's a BTech ECE from NIT Trichy. She's got a 2.5-year work ex in Origo Software Technologies in Bangalore. She converted all IIMs except A and B, and she is an upcoming PGP student in IIM Calcutta. All right.
Hello, everyone. Excited to be part of this call.
Amazing, amazing. Chaandini, right up front, many congratulations once again. I think I've lost count of how many times I've congratulated you, and I'll keep doing that. But very excited to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again.
Awesome. The second superstar that we have from 2IIM is Rohan Joshua Aswin. His CAT score was 99.75. His college converts are Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode, and Indore. He was a software engineer in Amadeus for 20 months, electronics engineer from VIT Vellore, and just a general trivia fact is he enjoys playing the piano, and he's a certified 8th grade pianist. So clearly an overachiever is among us. Welcome, Rohan. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you for your kind words, sir.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, and last but definitely not the least, we have Kavit Dodia, who is an upcoming or incoming IIM Bangalore PGP Business Analytics student. Kavit scored a 99.21 percentile. He is, this is his 5th attempt, I believe. And of course, he's going to talk about it. 3rd attempt. Second attempt. Sorry. Clearly didn't do my research clearly. This is a 2nd attempt. And of course, he's headed to a niche program. He's done his engineering from KJ Somaya, and he's worked in IFB Industries and supply chain for 5 years. So he's got his total work ex, sorry, not the attempt. His total work ex is 5 years. This was his 2nd CAT attempt. Welcome, Kavit.
Thank you. Thank you very much here. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Very, very excited to have you folks here. Let's get started. So of course, there are a number of students here who are very excited to hear from you. Now, let's get started by, a very open-ended question to all 3 of you. Take us through your CAT journey. Of course, I'm aware of that. And you folks have had very interesting journeys full of ups and downs. But yeah, give us a snippet of your CAT journeys. Anyone who wishes to start.
So I go first? Okay. Yeah.
Sure, Chaandini. All right, I'll start.
Go ahead, Rohan. Go ahead.
Sure. So this is my 3rd attempt at CAT. The first 2 times I was not very serious about my preparation, but this year I decided to put my foot down and actually put in a lot of effort to crack the exam. So I would say my CAT journey started with the first two attempts actually, because I think those are the best mocks that anyone can give. So, but if we're speaking specifically to this year, my preparation started in around July. And I think with my work experience, I had to manage both that and preparing for the exam as well. But yeah, I was able to do well. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So third CAT attempt, the first two, would you consider them as trial attempts or were they like serious attempts?
They were trial attempts, but I do believe that giving those two definitely helped me in my third attempt as well. So
right. And do you mind telling us your scores in the first two attempts as well?
Yeah, in my first attempt, I think I got around 97%, and my second attempt I got a 98.
Okay.
But yeah.
And third was 99.71.
75, yeah.
Amazing. So of course, an upwards graph, but you started with 97. That is amazing. And did you appear for any interviews in the first two attempts?
Yes, I actually did. In both cycles, I did appear for interviews.
Right.
I try to treat it as a learning experience and as a series of mocks basically, and I think that is really helpful in actually preparing for your serious attempts. So.
Okay. So interesting how Rohan calls his CAT 20, 20, and 21 attempt as mocks, and his IIM Trichy and other CAP interviews as mocks as well. That's amazing. But that's a good tip right up front, right, from folks that a lot of students shine in their second or third attempt, and you have Rohan who of course gave interviews as well, and every interview sort of incrementally adds value. So I think that's fantastic. Awesome. Chaandini, what about you? How was your journey like?
Yes, sir. So I gave CAT twice, one in 2021 and one in 2022. So in 2021, it was also serious, but it was self-preparation. And I did not clear a sectional cutoff in DILR, because of which I had to take again. And then I joined 2 IIM and prepared religiously, managing work and preparation parallelly, and then aced 2022 CAT.
Nice. Awesome. Kavit, what about you?
So it actually started in 2020, and when I started to notice that things weren't moving much at work, there was the lockdown as well. So I started preparing, but due to some emergency, I was not able to appear for the exam in 2020. But 2021, I would consider a very serious attempt, although I prepared for it personally, and like it was self-prep itself. And in 2021, I was able to score 88 percentile, and I had appeared for interviews as well. And I converted Amritsar towards the end. Amritsar was not a very great interview for me. It was like, it helped me learn a lot. And yeah, so it was the best convert that I had last year. And I decided to go for it again. And the dilemma that I had was like, will the 5-year work experience bother me in getting to the top B schools? And clearly it did not. And in 2022, I was fortunate enough to score 99.21 in CAT with a 99.91 in DILR with 100% accuracy. So yeah, that has been the journey till now.
Amazing. So couple of highlights. You went from 85 to 99 plus. Is that correct?
88 to 99 plus.
88 to 99 plus, and your DLR percentile was how much?
99.91.
Wow. And this is in a year where DLR section was a nightmare, right? So that's amazing. So definitely, I mean, folks, we're going to get section wise tips as well from these folks. So definitely for Kavit, we'll focus on DLR. So 23 aspirants, I don't know, some of you might not have appeared for 22, but DLR in 22 was a nightmare, right? They changed the set configuration. The sets were very random, out of the blue, and if you go back and see sectional percentiles, very low scores got you very high percentiles. So for someone to score a 99.99 plus in DLR in last year is definitely no mean feat. So we'll come back to Kavit to discuss that. Okay, folks. So before we get into sectional tips, right? Give me your top 1 or 2 tips. So that a lot of 23 aspirants were joining in, and of course, they want to be in your shoes next year, and hopefully a lot of them will be in your shoes. So give us your top 1 or top 2 tips that really helped you last year to crack CAT. We can start with Chaandini.
Okay, so since I have been preparing for CAT for almost 2 years, I had this thing that I will lose motivation like in between the process. Like I'll just get fed up with the mock scores. It's not improving, and I'll just be frustrated. So when I started my preparation the second time, I made it a point to keep track of all my mock scores using an Excel. So since the first mock, I have always like noted down all of my mock scores with percentiles, and I highlight it. Like if it's actually bad, then I just put red color saying that it's bad, and just to keep myself motivated and
Right.
see if there is any progress. And I'll also mention some remarks like if I have done a great job, then pat on my shoulder saying
Nice.
that wow, you have done a great job. And so that really helped me stay motivated throughout the process, because I always feel that like CAT is more of a mindset exam rather
Absolutely.
than even if you prepare in the long run, it's very important to have the right mindset before you take the exam. So
Correct.
that helped
Correct.
me a lot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's like a great way to self-motivate oneself, right? And a lot of students, of course. I mean, when I was a student like 20 years ago, I used to look for motivation. But I think this is one great way of self-motivating yourself, by writing down those notes. And I think Chaandini hit the nail on the head, right? CAT is a lot about the mindset, right? So it's very important to sort of stay motivated and have a positive mindset. So I think that's a great tip, Chaandini. Okay, Rajesh is just joining in. I'm going to admit him in the session and then we'll continue the discussion, right? So folks on the live stream, I think, of course, Rajesh is here. So this session will be more exciting. Rohan, go ahead. Tell us your topmost tip or top 2 tips that you have for 23 aspirants. Hey, Rajesh.
Hi, sir. Yeah, sure. So
Hi, sir.
I would say I agree with Chaandini for the first point. I think burnout was a huge thing for me. Trying to avoid that as much as I could with my preparation and making sure that I actually stay consistent with my studying. The second tip, and maybe we'll discuss a little bit more when we talk about work experience, preparing with work experience, is I tried my best to maintain a calendar when I prepared, and I feel like that really helped me in structuring the way I prepared and made sure that I actually followed through on what I wanted to do. So I feel like those 2 are my top 2 tips for preparing for the exam.
Right. So you maintained a calendar, you said.
Yeah. So basically, what I did was, in the beginning of each week, I would write down for the next week what I was going to study on each day. Okay. And basically, what this does is 2 things. One, it makes you accountable because you have to know something to follow. And 2, I think more importantly, it removes a lot of decision fatigue that people usually have. So what I noticed was, earlier when I was studying, I would maybe sit down and I had to decide what to study for that day.
Right.
And I feel like doing this basically kind of eliminated that and made sure that I stick to a proper routine. So I feel like that is something that really helped me.
Interesting. And you did that on a weekly basis, like every Sunday you would prepare for the week.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. So you set like a short-term goal.
Yes.
And every day you didn't have to worry about, okay, what am I going to study? I can just directly sit and start studying.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. People tend to create long drawn schedules. And sometimes I think that overcomplicates things. So I guess this is a good tip, right? Just sort of attacking it 1 week at a time. Very interesting. Nice. Kavit, what about you? What's your mantra for 23 students?
So, like I have been working for 5 years now, and my work schedule used to be like 6 days a week. So it used to be difficult to like come back home and study. So the one thing that I followed was that 1 step every day. Like there are days when you're very tired and you're not able to study itself. On such days as well, put in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and on good days you can clock 2 hours, 3 hours as well after you're back from work. So 1 step every day, and like do not like leave the momentum that you have already built over the months. So this is one thing. Second is, of course, which everybody would agree to, is mocks.
Correct.
Write as many mocks as you can write.
Yeah.
Of course, analyzing them.
Of course, yeah, we'll definitely come down to mocks and talk about them. So Kavit, I mean, like you said, you had a 6-day week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So a lot of students, and all 3 of you are working professionals. A lot of students struggle with this, right? So 6-day week. So did you prepare sort of consistently every day, or did you sort of load up on Sunday? What was the breakup like?
I used to like do it every day. Like on bad days, I used to like at least clock 30 minutes, and good days I used to like pull it to like 3 hours as well. And every single minute that I used to get at work, I used to like try solve questions that used to get on various study groups on Telegram or WhatsApp. So this used to help me like solve questions, and this used to also help me like guide other people as well in those groups. So this is what I used to do. One incident that I remember was that it was a Dashera party at our office, and like people were like not getting up to go and have lunch. And I had free time in my hand, and I clearly remember solving a couple of questions at that particular point of time. So this is how I used to manage, and like it became a part of me solving questions. So yeah, this is what I used to do.
That's very interesting. It's very interesting. I really like the 30 minutes tip. Right? You're having a bad day, you don't feel like doing a lot, just do 30 minutes. And that sometimes that 30 minutes can lead to 1 hour and 1.5 hours, right? That also happens. Yes, and sneaking in times during office hours. I think that's fantastic. Rajesh, over to you. Do you have any questions? You're on mute, Rajesh. Oh, we can't hear you. Okay, we'll carry on till Rajesh sort of fixes his mic. Same question. So I'm seeing questions on chat as well, right? Work experience, and that's expected. That's a very, very common question, and it's a legit concern, right? Having a full-time job and then preparing for CAT. So Chaandini and Rohan, you folks also have work experience. How did you folks manage?
So I was actually working from home for almost 2.5 years. Okay. So my office scrum usually starts around 10:45. So I ideally log in around 10. So I have like solid 2-3 hours in the morning. I'll wake up early, and probably from 6:30 to 9:30 I'll prepare and then get ready for the day. And we usually have live classes every day in the evening, right? So from 8:30 to 10:30 I make it a point to attend the classes, and in the mornings I practice questions based on the topics that we have covered the previous day. So I had this routine during the weekdays, and during the weekends I took mocks regularly. 2 mocks on Saturday and Sunday, and analyzing it completely. So that was my routine.
Amazing. I think that one aspect of live classes as well, right? Of course, folks, different strokes for different folks. Some people prepare on their own, which is great. Some people do self-paced courses. Some people like Chaandini do live classes. But I often tell my students, right, if you're tired from work, just make sure you attend the live class. So you come for 2 hours, at least you learn those concepts, right? Don't do anything else, but just come attend the live class, right? That also sort of helps keep the momentum on. So I think that's a good tip. Rohan, what about you? How did you handle it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I think the calendar was basically what actually changed it for me. And I think having a proper schedule in that sense. I also used to work at home, and I think once I got the intimation about what slot I was in on the actual CAT day, I tried to take my mocks at the exact time when I was going to have the exam, and I was lucky enough to have it in the morning. So I feel like I think for afternoon slot people, it will be a little difficult with work. But as far as possible, try and manage to like make that timing a reality. So if that means that you have to take mocks on weekends, then try and do that as well. So I feel like that's my tip.
That's a great tip. I think that's very important, especially if you get like a slot. Let's say, for instance, if I were a student and I got like a morning slot, I don't know. I would need a lot of sort of practice to get used to. I think vice versa. Rajesh, we still can't hear you. Sorry. I can't hear you. Sorry about that. Do you want to exit and probably join again? I don't know if that will help. Yeah. Okay. No, I was just saying Rajesh is exactly the opposite. He prefers morning. I prefer evening. So yeah, I think that's very important. That's a great tip. Okay, so let me see. Of course, folks on chat, right? We will definitely answer questions. So hang around, right? The second half of the session, 30 minutes, I'll make sure to answer your questions. I'm also looking at your questions right now, so I'll keep picking up some questions from there as well. Since we're on the topic of mocks, okay, let's maybe talk about that. When did you folks start giving your mocks? Which month did you start?
So I started in. Go ahead.
Chaandini, yeah, let's start with you.
Okay, I started around June, since I enrolled for classes in Jan, so I had so much of time for preparation. So I started in June itself.
June, and June, did you start like full throttle, or did you?
No. I just took 2 mocks for the entire month and then gradually increase the frequency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but from June onwards.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Rohan?
So since I had done a little bit of preparation before for the
Right.
previous 2 attempts, when I started in July, I almost immediately started giving mocks.
Absolutely.
And this is another tip I have is I don't think you should wait for covering the entire syllabus to start
Yes.
taking mocks.
Yes.
And because it really gives you an idea of what you're weak at and what you need to improve.
Correct.
And I do believe the best form of practice anyone can get is actually sitting for 2 hours and giving that paper.
Right.
So, but yeah, I started around June and I used to give about 2 mocks a week up
Okay.
until November when I started giving about 3 mocks a week. So
2
I think
mocks a
that was
week.
my- yeah.
2 mocks a week. Okay.
Yeah.
So total, how many mocks did you give?
I'd
Approximately?
say if I had to put a number, I think between 20 and 25. I don't remember the
20.
number exactly,
Okay.
but something around that. Yeah.
That's a healthy number. Yeah. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
also started in July, and that's a good tip, right? For a person who's repeating CAT, since you already have context, you can start your preparation with a mock, right? And we keep saying, don't wait for a curriculum. I don't know if it registers, but hear it from these folks, right? And do not wait for your curriculum to finish. Start your mocks. I think May, June is the right time. You can start and gradually build it up. Chaandini, sorry, Kavit, what about you? When did you start?
So I bought the course in July.
Okay.
And I started with mocks in June or July itself. And I wrote around 36 mocks. And I prepared a sheet where 37th mock was obviously the D-Day.
Oh,
So
nice.
I clearly remember putting the D-Day scores as well in my mock sheet.
Amazing. Amazing. So you also tracked your mock scores very closely in a sheet, just like how
So-
Chaandini did. Yeah.
But what I did differently is that last year I was tracking the percentiles as well. But this
Okay.
year I focused more on the number of questions that I'm getting correct, the number of questions that I'm getting wrong, and the questions that I'm leaving. So
Okay.
what happens is that percentiles vary much based on the number of people appearing for the exam, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is why this time I made it a point to not track the percentiles and only track the number of questions that I'm getting right. And the
Interesting.
accuracy, of course.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. All right. Rajesh is
We
back.
can
Let's
go through the sheet as well. If we can go through the sheet as well, which I sent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I won't be able to project it now, but I'll definitely attach it as a link. There are a couple of resources, by the way. These folks have been very gracious enough to share their trackers and sheets. I'll attach them in the description and comments, and you folks can have a look after the session. They're fantastic, right? So we'll look at that. Let's see if Rajesh's mic is working. Oh, it's not. Okay. Okay. All right. No worries, Rajesh. No worries. Okay, folks. So again, mocks. Tell me about this. What was the lowest mock score? Because this is a problem, right? It's a journey of ups and downs. Again, was it a journey of ups and downs for you? Did you have terrible mock scores? And if yes, of course, now you're free to talk about it. Nobody cares. But talk to us about your lowest mock score. How did that make you feel, and how did you overcome that?
I got just 48, and in VRC I got only 1 mark.
Right.
And
Okay.
I felt terrible, and I started reading religiously from that day only.
Okay. Okay. Which month was this?
I think it was in like right after I started the preparation, Feb. I
Okay.
just took 1 mock to see where I'm standing,
Correct.
and then
Correct.
I started giving in June, July.
Right. Right. So your first mock, you got a VRC 1.
Yeah.
And now you're on your way to Calcutta, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, this is how it is, and this is not an exception. We'll hear from Kavit and Rohan as well, but I'll make a point once it's done. Rohan, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think for me, more than a mock, what I remember vividly is a sectional test that I did for DILR,
Okay.
where
Right.
it was one of those sectional tests where I attempted everything or almost everything, and none
Right.
of it was right. And I think I remember getting, I think single-digit marks, maybe 6
Okay.
or 8 or something like that. But it was really bad. And I think from then on, I realized that this thing could really happen in the exam as well. And so you really need to put in that effort to make sure that your accuracy is very high.
Correct.
And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously it does boil down to your luck on the day of the exam as well, to some extent. But
of course.
as the saying goes, the more you prepare, the luckier you get. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I think.
Okay. And I'm curious. Sorry, Kavit, I'll come to you as well. But I'm curious, was it just one blip in the mock journey, or were there like multiple blips that you had that, why my scores not improving? Like, did you have those kind of situations?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
I think.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Rohan.
Sure. So I think every candidate would have an experience where the scores would start to stagnate, and they
Right.
would, maybe they would not see any improvement in certain fields. And I think it's a real issue.
Yeah.
But the only tip I can give is, just put at it, just keep at it, and you never really know what's going to happen on the D-Day. So I think just putting that effort and also taking time to analyze what is exactly happening. Those two are very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's a great tip. Kavit, what about you?
So the lowest mock score that I remember must be 33.
Okay.
33.
Right.
And there was this number 44. I have scored constantly 44 in a couple of mocks.
Okay.
And then every time I used to score 44, it used to be very demotivating.
Right.
But then eventually, as I moved ahead with the preparation, I started crossing 60, 70 as well.
Right.
So, yeah, 44 was a very scary number for me at that point of time.
Okay. And did you do anything sort of like special to break that? Like, did you sort of analyze that, or something is amiss in your preparation and changed it? Was there a strategy change to sort of, break that barrier?
Yeah. So what I did is that in most of the mocks that I gave, I used to only be able to solve one particular set in DILR.
Right.
So it used to be like 3 to 4 questions, maybe sometimes 5 as well. So at that point of time, I realized that no, we have to do something for DILR as well. I stopped everything, only focused on DILR for a month, which was in September. So if you see my number of questions that I'm getting correct after September, it started improving. From one set, I moved to 2, and eventually on good days, I used to also like get 3 sets as well. And on the D-Day, I was able to like solve 11 questions, and I like got all of them correct.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So September is that month you sort of dedicated to focus more on DILR.
Only DILR.
Only
and
DILR. Okay.
In that month, I focused mostly on the previous set questions. Started from 2017 to 2021, solved each and every set that had appeared in the exam.
Right. Okay. That's great. So that focus preparation past year papers did sort of help you significantly increase your attempts in the DILR. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so we'll come down to that. So a couple of people are asking about DLR strategy and stuff like that. So we will of course talk about that. Let's now maybe go to sectional tips, right? And I'll start with Kavit. Kavit, of course, DLR was your high scoring section, right?
Yes.
So talk to us about that. Like, and then there is of course Prabhanshu on chat is also asking about DLR strategies. So how did you go about preparing? What was your strategy?
So in 2021 as well, and in the beginning months of 2022 as well of my prep, DILR was my weakest section, and I wasn't like even confident in it. If I got one set right, I was very happy with it. Right. But then eventually I started realizing that this is the section which is pulling me down. So maybe like I used to sometimes get 2 questions right, 4 questions right, 5 questions right, and then I started like researching like how exactly should we go about it. And I saw a couple of YouTube videos as well where everybody stressed on set selection.
Right.
So it is something that is very much important, because the amount of time that you have, you cannot put equal time to each and every set that is there in the exam. So you have to select the right particular sets and like solve them with a very high accuracy. Right. And then I started like taking questions from 2017 CAT paper to 2021. I solved each and every set that was there in the CAT exam, and then eventually I used to get some sets directly right on with the first attempt itself. But then I had to see some questions solutions as well. But then with that, my set selection got improved, and the sets that I was selecting, I was able to solve them. So I remember that the maximum I could score in one of the mocks was I was able to like get 14 questions right. 14 as in 6 plus 4 plus 4. Right. One set, 14 questions right. So it was very much like motivating factor for me. Correct. And this is what I did in the exam as well. I started with the wrong set, of course. And then I was able to solve one question, but I did not mark it. Then I moved to the set number 2 and 3. I solved each and every question in those sets. I moved back to the set which I started with. The one question that I got correct, I marked it. And 5 plus 5 plus 1, I could get 11 questions right out of the 11 I attempted.
Amazing. So you're saying your set selection improved based on the practice that you did for the past paper questions.
Right. So,
Right.
like I mentioned, that some sets I was able to get them correct by within the first attempt itself, and
Right.
some sets I had to like go back to the solutions, see it, reattempt them. So this is where
Right.
I realized that I was able to identify the questions, the sets where I would be able to get them correct in the first attempt itself.
Right. Got it.
I
Okay.
want to,
Yes,
sorry to
please go ahead,
jump in.
please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add to Kavit's points. So DLR set selection was always a trouble for me. So even if I, identify that this is my strong area, and if I find similar sets based on that area, then sometimes that set ends up to be difficult. So I always struggle in that. But one thing that I learned through, lot of practice is that, so even if you start with a wrong set, if you are say spent like 10 minutes on that set and it's taking you nowhere, it's always better to just leave it rather than sitting with the same set and then thinking about the last 10 minutes. It's just better to move on and start solving the other two sets. Probably that might be easier as well. So that's
Correct.
something that I learned.
Yeah. No, that's a very good tip. And again, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the VRC faculty here at IIM, so I have no idea about DLR, but I do understand from DLR that in VRC also it happens, right? It's important to not get emotionally attached to questions, right? And I tell my students sometimes it physically or psychosomatically it hurts you to get away from that set, and more so in DLR because you've spent 10 minutes. But I think that's what makes the difference, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, in 2022, if a person solved one set correctly, right, the cutoff was, they could be in the 90 plus percentile range, right? So even if you have spent 20 minutes, you leave it and you solve that correct set, you're through. So I think that's a great tip. Rohan, you also had a great percentile in DLR, right? 99.46.
Yes.
What was your strategy?
Yeah, I think for me it was just more of a mindset change. I think so initially when we look at the question paper, it's 20 questions, and we think that it's 20 questions that have to be solved in 40 minutes. But in actuality, it's just, I mean, if you take two sets, it's maybe 10 questions or it's 8 questions that you have to solve. And I think when you think of it like that, it becomes much easier for you to be able to calm yourself down and process the information and actually like read the set and solve it. And of course, like we were talking about, leaving a set when it's done. I think it's the most important thing, because I mean, as sunk cost fallacy, basically. I'm basically, when we try and hold on to something, it's never good. It'll never end well. So I think it's definitely better to let go and to basically detach yourself from these questions. So.
Absolutely, Rohan's already talking like an MBA grad, but it's true. It's so true. I think that is, and it's not easy. It's easier said than done, by the way. It's very difficult. Even VRC, it's difficult to leave questions. RCs, right? It's similar to sets. It's a complicated RC. You leave it and you sort of move on. I think that's very, very crucial. And I think folks that are listening, right? 23 aspirants, try this in mocks as well. In mocks, also practice that. Okay, if you're stuck in a difficult set, right? And it's a mock. Mimic the real life conditions. So spend 15 minutes, drag yourself away from that set or that RC and go to another one. Because if you only when you do it in mocks will you be able to do it in the real life sort of D-Day, right? So keep that in mind, definitely. Awesome. Great. So DLR strategy is done. Let's talk about where should we go next? Should we go to, okay, I'll be biased. Let's go to VRC. Let's talk about VRC. What were your sectional percentiles, if you don't mind sharing, and what went wrong, what went right for you? What can students learn from your experience?
So we'll start with bad first.
Kavit, go ahead.
I wasn't able to touch. I wasn't able to touch even 90 in VRC, and like I was emotionally attached to the VA questions that used to appear in the previous year CAT exams.
Right.
And this is where they changed one particular type of question. I think that was
paracompletion.
Yeah, I think
I cannot remember the exact.
They removed odd one out and put paracompletion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. So like what I used to do is that I used to like solve 2 of the RCs, move to VA, and then come back to the RCs. So when I had solved 2 of the RCs, I moved to VA, and I was completely shocked at that point of time. And it went downhill from there. And I wasn't able to perform. I used to solve around 20 to 22 questions in mocks, but in the exam I used to I was able to solve only 16 questions with a 50% accuracy. So things did not go well for me in VRC. But then of course the next was DILR, and I was able to
Correct,
manage.
correct. So see, this is interesting. You, of course, BRC didn't go well for you, but you obviously crushed it in quant and DLR, and that's why you got a 99.xx percentile. So the baggage. Now you did VRC. You must have known that you didn't do well, right? So then how did you sort of manage to get your wits together and crush DLR? Because that's also a problem that happens, right? You tend to take the baggage from one section to another section.
So what I used to do during the mocks as well and during the actual exam as well, I used to take a sip of water between sections and like forget what has happened and like move in with a completely fresh mind to the new section. So that is exactly what I did. I took a sip of water and like moved into VARC and completely crashed it.
Amazing, amazing. So you reset yourself, sort of mentally reset yourself, and you went for it. Okay, that's great. That's a great tip, folks. I think keep that in mind. Treat these as 3 different exams. One exam is done, you go to a second one, you go to a third one. So I think that's very important. What about you folks? Rohan, do you want to share your PRC experience?
Yeah, so I think I had a very similar strategy to Kavit as well. And maybe this is a learning for people where I attempted 2 RCs and then went to VA and then came back to RCs. And I also had a really bad verbal section as compared to my other 2 sections. But I think the learning for me was mostly just, sometimes things just don't go your way, and it's perfectly okay. These things, there are some things you can't control, and there are some things that you can control, and the goal is to be able to maximize what you can control, and I feel like that is the most important thing. So if things don't go your way, just shrug it off and move on to the next section, and make sure you attack that section with the same vigor as you would normally, irrespective of what happened in the previous section. So I think that is the most important takeaway that I had. So
and interestingly, you were doing quite well in your in your mocks in VRC.
Yes,
one of your strongest sections, but didn't work out on the detail.
Yeah, in fact, when I wrote CAT last year, I had a 99 plus percentile in VRC, and this year it was actually less than 90. So it was not great, but things happen. So
So 2 examples, folks, right? I mean, Kavit, of course, Kavit says VRC was never his strongest point. So Kavit didn't have a good VRC, managed to sort of crush DLR and quant. Rohan VRC was great, but it didn't go well. Still, he managed to crush DLR and quant, right? So if you reset and if you sort of have that mindset, I think you can do it. It's important not to take that baggage. Chaandini, what about you? What was your VRC experience?
One point that I want to add here.
Go ahead.
One point that I want to add here is even without a 90 in one of the sections, you can eventually like make it to 99. I had 89.55 in VARC, but then it did not like pull me back from getting a 99 overall. So it's completely all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So your VRC section was 89, right? 89, but your overall was still 99 plus because of your DLR and quant. Right. So you one section doesn't go your way, 2 sections can still get you 99 plus, but of course, remember you have to clear the cutoff, right? That is something that you have to keep in mind. Chaandini, what about you? How was your VRC experience?
So yes, sir. So my VRC was not good. I mean, extremely good or bad. It was decent for me.
Right.
So in the initial days of my preparation, I made it a point to read every day. So I was reading Bharat's reading list, at least 2 articles every day, and then newspaper. So this was my routine. And in the initial mocks, I was doing okay. Like I think I got around 90 percentile in the mocks, and I was fine with it. But after just as exams was nearing, so my mock score started dropping drastically. I remember even pinging you because I was not able to figure out what went wrong, and it was driving me crazy because it was just 1 month before the exam, and I was in no way able to figure out. And I actually tweaked the strategy a bit. It was not that major hit, but I was able to improve the score relatively. So it was actually the same strategy that these 2 people were talking about. I did 2 RCs first, followed by VA questions, and then came back to the 3rd RC.
Okay.
And it actually improved my score in the mocks later.
Nice.
And also I just 1 month before the exam, I was not able to focus on reading, and I stopped it completely. And again, I started reading. So it improved my accuracy in the passages.
Right. That momentum is important, sort of till the exam, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Rajesh is on chat because he's having FOMO since he can't sort of come on. So he's sending a lot of messages on chat. He's saying these 3 are answering in a very mature fashion. Amazing stuff. When I was preparing, I was rather clueless about strategy. All right. And Rajesh is also saying BRC faculty members also get emotionally attached to passages. I do. I accept that. I get horribly attached to passages. So yeah, very, very emotional. I'm definitely emotional. Rajesh, if you're hearing this, I'm definitely emotional about BRC. You should be happy that your faculty is. But anyway, okay, let's talk about quant before I forget that quant even exists. What about quant strategies? Kavit and Rohan, of course, even Chaandini did very well in quant. Any specific sort of quant strategies, anything that you did differently to prepare for quant?
Maybe I can go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So in my quant, I got a 99.92 percentile. And I think quant was always my strong suit, I would say, like preparing for CAT. And I think one tip that I could give people preparing is that when you're preparing for a particular topic, make sure that you revise it at some point later on. I think this was something that I had an issue with last year as well when I was just briefly preparing, was that I would prepare something and I would move on to the next thing and move on to the next thing and just cover everything once. And it's definitely not enough for you to retain information. And I do believe that actually going back and visiting what you studied, it can be a week later, it can be 10 days later, whatever seems to work for you. I think that is very important because then it really stays in your mind and what you've learned actually gets into practice. And of course, the other thing is practice as much as you can. I think for quant, the most important thing is drilling questions and making sure that you're solving hundreds of questions in whatever topic. So I think those are the most important.
Okay, that's an important point, and I think that's actually a best practice, right? Quant, because of the breadth of curriculum, it's very different from DLR VRC, right? Because you've got a breadth of sort of curriculum to cover. I think what you did was you baked in your revision with your preparation. I think that's super crucial. It's definitely a best practice. So folks who are listening to this live stream, definitely do that, because otherwise you'll start forgetting all these concepts and topics that you're learning. Chaandini, what about you? What were your tips?
So quant is the only section which has a predefined syllabus, right? So if we start preparing for it, then we can definitely ace it. So that's one main advantage in quant. And for me, I maintained a formula sheet and it's not applicable for all scenarios, but in general formulas, which I can revise before mocks, I do that. And before taking mocks. And also revision was one important thing which Rohan mentioned, because when I prepare for a topic today and I take a sectional test, I used to score very well. But after 1 month, if I take up the same sectional test, then my scores dropped. So then I started revising it regularly on, like once in 3 weeks. So that really helped me.
Okay. Amazing. Kavit, what about you?
So I had a 96.XX in quants. And the problem that I faced with quants was that I wasn't able to get questions correct in like a short period of time. It used to take at least like 3 to 4 minutes, maybe sometimes 5 as well, to get some certain questions right. So then at that point of time, I realized that if I'm not able to like solve them quickly, I have to improve my accuracy. Yeah. And this is what I used to do. Like in mocks as well, I used to like attempt 12, 13 questions and I used to like get only 1 or 2 questions wrong. And this is exactly what happened in the exam as well. I only attempted 10 questions and I got 9 out of them correct and 1 was wrong. So this is what helped me like manage my extra time that I'm putting in each of the questions. And the second thing is that when do you actually revise a particular topic? So every time I used to give a mock and I used to analyze the mocks, I used to see certain topics which I've already done, but I wasn't able to get those questions right. And at that point of time itself, I used to like go back to the videos, see the videos, attempt certain number of questions, go back to the wrong question in the mock, give it a try again, and then like this is used to my revision schedule.
Amazing strategy. I think there are 2 very important points there. I think one, not everybody is fast with numbers. Not everybody is fast with quant, right? Different people approach it in different ways. So if you're somebody like Kavit and you see that, okay, it's taking you long to solve quant problems, then focus on accuracy, right? Focus on selecting the right questions based on the topics that you're good at, and then solve fewer questions, but get them right. I think that's great. And I think second point that you brought in, Kavit, very, very crucial. You can use the data from mocks to revise. Right? So mocks will tell you where you're weak, and then based on that, you can structure your revision. Right? So you're using that data to revise. So I think that's amazing. Great tips, folks.
There's a loose talk that goes around is that that is not an exam of the questions that you solve. It is an exam of questions that you give.
Right.
This is what generally happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think question selection is crucial, right? Yeah, and I think the more you practice, the more mocks you give, the better you get at question
Right.
selection.
So
I think
generally
that's-
the toughest or the hardest looking question is the simplest of all. And the question which is like a one-liner will take a lot of time for you to solve,
Correct.
is what I used
Correct.
to have in my mind.
Yeah. They can be quite deceptive. I think in BRC also, RCs that are longer, sometimes, many times they tend to be easier. But just
Yes.
people see the length and they get scared. Or even denser RCs tend to have simpler questions. So I think that deception happens a lot there. Okay, folks, I'm going to start taking questions from the chat, right? Work, of course, we've discussed. There are a number of questions about interviews. Okay, I was thinking that maybe the audience wouldn't want to discuss interviews at this stage, because for 23 that's a year away, and of course we'll have these folks back, right, to talk about interviews in detail. But yeah, tell us about your interview, and maybe on the lighter side, any funny, quirky questions that were asked during interview. Definitely talk about that as well. Who wants to? Anybody, whoever wants to start.
The thing that happened in my CAP interview was the professor was like, the panelist was seeing my marks, and he saw a downward trajectory in my marks.
Right.
He told me that if you come to my college, I can assure you that you will score lower than what you scored in your graduation. So I smiled and told him, no, I'll be among the toppers, and I'll score a 9+ pointer.
Right.
And then he was like actually very happy with the confidence that I showed.
Nice.
Answering that question, and then he even told me that he'll catch hold of me if I do not get that.
Are you going? You're not going to that college, right? That's a CAP interview.
No, I'm not going to. Yes,
Good. That's good for you. 9-pointer and an MBA is quite overambitious, but kudos for your confidence. Awesome. Chaandini, what about you? What was your interview experience? Anything funny? Anything?
Yeah,
quirky?
in my IIM Lucknow interview, the first question the professor asked was on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how nervous you are. And that was my first interview, and I was very nervous, and that was evident. And I told him that 9, and he was like, okay, take this glass of water, take some time, cool yourself, and then start. So, and there was one more thing in that interview. I mentioned a quote in my SOP, and I also mentioned the author of that quote. But
Okay.
I have no idea about who that author was. But I was just being too smart, and I just mentioned the author. So the prof asked, are you aware? I mean, have you read his books? And I was like, no, I found this quote interesting, so I added it. So he was like, oh, you just copy pasted from Google. And I didn't know what to say. And I was like, oh, no, sir, I was genuinely interested in this quote.
Interesting. Very nice. Rohan, what about you?
I think for me, it was just, I think I almost had every kind of interview under the sun, from stress interviews to interviews that were 5 minutes long,
Right.
to, interviews where you were genuinely having a conversation.
Yeah.
I think the most memorable interview was actually not this year, it was last year when I was giving my CAP interview. And what happened was, so my father is an alumni of IIM Bangalore.
Correct.
And what happened in that interview was the panelists actually recognized my last name because he was my senior in my dad's class. So in IIM Bangalore. So I think that was a very funny experience when we were having a small conversation about what is happening in my life. And suddenly the interview became very personal, and I was like, wow, this is very different from what I anticipated. So I think that was a funny experience. So yeah.
Nice. But I think the connection would have put you at ease a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Oh, by the way, we've got Akib here as well. Folks, Akib is heading to IIM Lucknow, and he's also joining the live stream, so we'll get him in a minute. Let me look at questions. Okay, I just want to make sure that in these live streams, sometimes I get carried away, and then I feel bad later that I didn't sort of focus on questions. A lot of compliments for you folks
Thank you.
on chat from Siddharth, from a lot of people. But let's see. Okay, strategy for DLR we've done. Okay, yes. Okay, this is a good question. Ashura is asking, should we reserve the actual CAT papers from last 2 years for the final month mocks, or try them earlier?
I can take this because
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was actually something that I actually thought about, and what I wanted to do was basically space the actual question papers out so that I would have I would basically take them throughout, because I feel like
Okay.
the actual CAT question papers are definitely the
Of
best
course.
mocks you can do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Those
yeah.
are actually, especially for a section like DILR, where I feel like,
Yeah.
you can have a lot of variance. I feel like CAT papers are definitely the best. So I tried to
Okay.
space them out as much as I could. I think I did maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
But again, make sure to plan it out. And
Right.
another thing I did was, since from CAT 2017 to CAT 2020 or CAT 2019, it was a 3-hour paper. I tried to give those as sectionals, and not really a serious sectional, because the times are different. But actually just sit and try and solve the paper, and just to see what questions were appearing. So yeah.
Interesting.
That's
Interesting. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. I think that 3-hour tip to us sections is a good one. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen in 23. It can be 3 hours, 2 hours. So we'll have to wait and watch. Chaandini, what about you?
No, I was just about to say that since I prepared for CAT even in 2021, and I did self-preparation. So I was running out of material, and I took CAT papers. So during my 22 preparation, I felt really bad because I was not able to solve those as mocks, and I was so used to those questions. So I think it's definitely a good idea to reserve that for mocks later in our preparation journey.
Okay. Awesome. Kavit, what about you?
So,
you spread it out? Or did you
since we are talking up, I did not. Since we are talking about previous questions, I want to mention that I did not take them as sectional mocks. I used to take my sweet time to solve each and every question.
Okay.
So even in the last 2 weeks as well, it so happened that since I was taking the questions by their year itself, so I started in 2017, and eventually in the month of November, I was anyway doing the 2022 questions itself. So again, I did not take them as sectionals. I was taking my sweet time for DILR as well and for quants as well.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got three different sort of strategies here, right? And I think it worked for each one of them. So I think figure out your own strategy. But I think what's important is to focus on these CAT past papers, right? As Rohan said, those are the best mocks that you'll get. Of course, you can be like Rohan and give actual exams as mocks and actual interviews as mocks. But yeah, the best mocks are definitely them. Okay, awesome. Let's take. Oh, Sudarshan is saying, Kavit bhai, proud of you. Best of luck. Just passing on
I have a story over here.
Go ahead.
Sudarshan is an ex-2 IIM student itself, and nice. He went to SPJN. We were ex-colleagues.
Nice.
And it was Sudarshan itself who told me to blindly go for 2 IIM itself, because the content etc. is organized, so it's very much good for person like us, Sudarshan or me, who are very bad at selecting material.
Right.
So again, a very huge shout out to Sudarshan, and it was Sudarshan itself who asked me to write an email to Rajesh and seek advice if I should take a reattempted CAT. I had 88 last year. I had a convert from Amritsar, and he himself told me that write an email to Rajesh and see what advice he has for you. And then eventually I got a reply, not from Rajesh but Bharat. Bharat was actually the right person to answer my question, because he himself had 4 or 5 takes at CAT, and he one line that he wrote me is I still remember, is that having a 5-year experience is not a crime. And I used the same line in my DOMS Madras interview as well, and the professors were quite impressed. I told them that this advice is what I have taken from an alum of DOMS Madras itself, and they were very happy with that as well. And I eventually converted it. So for people who are having a very huge work ex, there are schools like Bangalore who value a work ex. So it's completely all right to have a huge experience. So the thing is that you shouldn't regret it not giving it again.
Correct.
This is what helped me to always stay motivated.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Kavit. I think that's very useful. A lot of people have this, right? I've got 5 years of experience. I'm 25 years old. I think I'm too old. First of all, if you're calling yourself old at 25, take it from me. It's your mind is lying to you. Right? And it happens. I can understand. I remember this when I was 26, 27. I thought I was too old because people around me were 23, 24. You're not old at 25. You're not old at 28. You're not old at 29 also. Not even at 30. So get rid of that. I think Kavit's right here in a living example, and there are many examples. He's not an exception. There are many examples like that, and you can do it too. So don't worry about those things at all.
Bangalore is waiting for you.
Bangalore is waiting for you. Yes, Bangalore is waiting for you. A lot of other good colleges will also take you. So don't worry about that at all. Okay, awesome. Let's lot of serious questions. So we'll go with a fun question that Rajesh has been. Yeah, Rajesh is wanting to ask. What is your favorite TV series? We can start with Akib. Akib, what's your favorite TV series?
I think by now all people working with 2IIM know it's Friends. Friends is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Friends. Who's your favorite
I'm
character?
a big fan of Chandler and Phoebe. Yeah.
Chandler and Phoebe. Yeah, I'm a wannabe Chandler. I wish I had the wit of Chandler, but I don't.
You're a wannabe Gen Z. You're a wannabe Chandler.
Thank you. Excuse me. This is not our one-on-one conversation. It's on you. Anyway, Chaandini, what's your favorite TV series?
Friends in Office.
Friends in the Office. Okay, very nice. Favorite character from Friends?
Ross and Chandler.
Ross and Chandler. Very few people like Ross. Good. I mean, I'm sure Ross is happy about this. Kavit, what about you?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Dexter.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Dexter. Okay, nice. Rohan?
I actually like detective shows. So Sherlock is my favorite. I
Okay.
also like the Mentalist, Castle. Those are all great shows.
Nice. Good picks. Okay, let me go back to questions on chat. There are quite a few about them. A lot of questions around interviews. I didn't expect that. You know, I thought you folks will be focused on a CAT preparation, but good. You're thinking ahead. Let's see. Okay, accuracy. Okay, one person saying after watching the stream, I feel like immediately going back to CAT prep. Okay, with the smiley, I hope that's positive that they're motivated and not bored. We'll go with the motivated route. Okay, how to ace cons if you're average or below average? So any of you, again, of course, Kavit spoke about speed, but any of you, you thought that you weren't great at numbers, and then how did you sort of manage to cross that barrier, or did cons come naturally to all of you?
I think start here.
Yeah.
One thing that I did differently this year was I left a certain number of topics last year, and
Right.
it was these topic itself that I picked up first this time. And like one was number systems, then there was probability, etc. So again, like the more topics you do, the more number of questions they come in your target area, and you can solve them.
Right. So Kavit, again, I know with quants, you can afford to leave certain topics and focus on certain topics. Did you cover all the topics, or did you leave out certain topics completely?
So last year I did leave certain topics. I left geometry, I left PNC, I left number system as well. But this time I made sure that I did them. And one thing that I clearly remember from Rajesh's video is that he always mentions to like overdo with geometry. Because with overdoing, you start getting hold of geometry. Absolutely. It is not something that you solve certain number of questions and you get them right on the day. It is that the extra questions that you do. So if you think X number of questions is enough for you, it's never enough for you.
Right. Okay. So like really sort of going out and practicing till it gets like automated. I think that's what he keeps talking about, right? Rohan, Chaandini, Akib, were you guys, did cons come? I know Akib, of course, cons comes very naturally to him. VRC, of course, Akib and I can have a conversation on. I'm kidding, pulling your leg. But Chaandini and Rohan, what about you folks?
Maybe
I think I was good at. Oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Go ahead, Chaandini.
No, I was just saying, I think I was good at quant because I had something to prepare for, and I always had the discipline in me to prepare religiously if I start doing something. So that made me good at quant.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. Rohan, what about you?
So I think a tip that I would have for people who are maybe slightly weaker at quant is like everyone is different. I think everyone has a strong section. Everyone has a section that they're really good at.
Absolutely.
And honestly, in my, I think to be very honest, quant is the easiest section to be weakest at, because for quant, I think as if any person is seriously preparing for CAT, they would know that arithmetic is basically the most important topic for CAT. And honestly, if you do just arithmetic, it is very, very doable to get a very decent score. And, if you're someone who's struggling with numbers and someone who's struggling with, geometry and probability and, things that are slightly more complicated, just doing arithmetic is perfectly fine if you have a strong hold of the other two sections. And I think that is a tip that I would have for people who are prepared.
Okay. Doubling down on arithmetic, right? And maybe if somebody's not sort of naturally comfortable, start with arithmetic, go all out, gather expertise, and then sort of cover a few other topics. It should get you through. Okay, amazing. So Akshat is saying Kavit is spitting gold right now. There you go, Kavit. All right, let's go to the next question. So should Akib, maybe you can chime in. Pratik wants to know, should one prioritize one section over others?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Okay.
You need the 3 sections to clear whatever the cutoffs are, like for each
Right.
of the top schools, right? For example, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Indore, Kozhikode definitely wants you to clear all the sections. Rohtak is an exception because Rohtak does not pay attention to the sectionals, but most IIMs do care for all the sections, and maybe some care a lot for quant, some care a lot for verbal. For example, Trichy cares a lot for verbal, right? So it depends on college to college, but predominantly most IIMs do emphasis on getting equal scores in all the 3 sections. So definitely think about clearing the cutoffs for all the 3.
What happens is that most of the aspirants, including me, we give a lot of time to quants. Like if you ask someone what are you studying today, or what did you do yesterday, so then quant is something that will come naturally. So quant, we put a lot of time to quant without like focusing on VRC or DILR.
Yeah.
And then we sort of like fail over here because DILR and VRC, they have equal weightage in the exam as well.
Correct.
So this is where we should like give much more importance to other 2 sections as well. And
Absolutely.
This is why I completely stopped doing quants in the month of September and like focused on DILR itself.
Right. I think that's a great point. Kavit, thanks for saying that. Unfortunately, what happens in CAT with a lot of students is because quant is structured and there is a curriculum, quant ends up getting a lot of focus, and especially VRC gets deprioritized because folks think, oh, I'm just going to read and I'm going to get through VRC, and then the reality is very different, and then you don't want to be in a situation where you have 99 in quant, 98 in DLR, and then you don't clear the cutoff for VRC, right? So yeah, definitely focus on all the sections. I think in the eyes of CAT, all 3 sections are equal, right?
I want to add a point here.
Go ahead.
So I also did the same mistake, and it's very easy to neglect VRC, especially because we think that we read a lot of things and it automatically gets handled.
Right.
So I always made it a point that in the next year of my prep, so I had 3 hours of preparation. So I spent 1 hour each for each subject. So that even if I feel that I don't have anything to prepare in DILR or VRC, I just go through some questions in verbal ability or solve 2 puzzles every day, and I always stay in touch with all the subjects.
Correct. Thank you, Chaandini, for saying this. Had I said it, probably wouldn't have registered. Thank you for saying this, and I didn't ask her to say this. Okay, she said this of her own accord. Robin. Okay. This is a YouTube alias, but he wants to know if you used only 2IIM mocks or mocks from other providers as well. What's your tip regarding this? Anyone?
I used only 2IIM mocks.
Okay.
I did not use mocks from any other providers.
Okay.
So.
All right.
I use one more provider.
Both. Okay.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I use both 2IIM and IMS because I wanted to give 40 mocks. I gave 40 mocks together. So it was not sufficient. So I just wanted to mix and match.
Perfect. Kavit, what about you?
So I had 2 more mock providers, and what I realized that I used to do good in particular section in one of the providers mocks, and used to not do good in other providers mocks. So this used to help me balance out. At one particular evening, I used to be very much proud of my mock score, and in the same week, some other day, I used to be very demotivated as well. So this used to be like this was a reality check for me.
Correct. Yeah, that happens. That happens with certain providers and the inclination that they have, right? I think folks, a general tip from my end. I mean, I think we tell our students as well very openly. I think it's good to at least have 2 providers for your mocks, right? Because see, at the end of the day, first thing you have to realize is it's a mock, right? No provider has sort of intelligence or sort of any sort of secret information on how CAT papers are designed. They're going to design their own mocks using their own approach. It's a mock at the end of the day. There's so much similarity will happen between the real exam. But I think it's important to get used to different styles of questions and different approaches to mocks. So yeah, definitely 2 providers, if not more, is always advisable, right? I'm also obviously not going to name those providers. You can figure that out yourself. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I think we're running out of time, but I'm just going to take a couple more questions if that's okay with you folks, and
Sure.
then we can they can make it the end. Let's see. Along with that. Okay. Interesting question. Along with CAT preparation, which activities should be done to be consistent?
Reading.
Maybe anything to do with your, I don't know, PI prep that you did, or did you work on current affairs? Did you improve your communication skills? Did you do anything during your CAT prep apart from the core CAT prep?
Yeah, I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing that I kind of started very late, and I mean, I've never had a reading habit per se. So this is something that I came out of the bandwagon very late. So so that's and I want to start with novels, but it didn't really work for me. So I started with Jeffrey Archer, and I didn't really like it for some reason.
Right.
So I picked up a non-fiction, and then I kind of got the hang of it, and then it started rolling on from there. But yeah, but reading is something that I started very lately, and reading is something that helped me really when in terms of cracking my VRC score, because the first time that I gave CAT, my VRC score was really bad. My score was 47 percentile. So my VRC score went from 47 to 90, 95, 95 percentile, only because of the reading habit that I started very lately.
Right.
So yeah, reading really helped. So that would be something that I would ask everybody to.
And reading was it limited to novels, or did you sort of read other sources as well?
I started reading with non-fiction,
right?
And then I went on to read some articles as well.
Okay.
And then I picked up this book, which is a beefy book. I don't know if you guys can see it.
India After Gandhi.
Yeah,
okay.
Gandhi.
Yeah, Ramchandra Goa. Yes.
Thick book.
Did you finish it?
No, not yet. I'm still in the starting phase.
Right.
Some chapters
okay,
but yeah.
Awesome. There you go. Reading. I think leisure reading is very, very important. And there's an example in front of you. 47 to 94 is no joke. So definitely keep reading in mind. What about you folks? Rohan, Kavit?
So I'd like to mention over here that we should continue doing some things which are not related to CAT prep as well.
Right.
As in, I used to watch movies like once in a fortnight, and I used to cook as well. A good mock day used to meant I'll cook something nice and treat myself. A bad mock, it used to be something basic as well. And sometimes on Sundays, my motivation used to be I wake up at 7:30, give a mock at 8:30, and then once the mock is done, I'll go to my favorite South Indian restaurant and have my brunch. So this used to be the things that I used to do.
Nice. I think this is interesting. I mean, this is what I would have done. I think good food can fix a lot of things. So you will have bad mocks, and they will be quite demotivating. Believe me. Number one, remember, it's just a mock. Okay, it's not your D-Day. Your D-Day will surprise you. Okay, so number one, it's a mock, and if you're really down, just go have your favorite food. Swiggy in, go there. Food can fix a lot of things. All right, Rohan, what about you?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Kavit. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the whole idea that the entire exam is the exam is your entire life, and I think that is not that is a very not only is it a bad mindset. It completely drains you. And I think I spoke about burnout in the beginning as well. I feel like that is something that is really real, and it can really affect you, especially if you're not sleeping well, if you're not, if you're not eating well, or if you're taking it very seriously, it's the end of your life. I feel like that is not a very good place to be in. So do things that you enjoy. I know it is hard to juggle all of these things, especially if you're working, but try your level best to, make sure that you do get some time for yourself into every day. So I think that is very important.
Definitely. I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
You'll be also asked about your hobbies during the interviews. And cooking is something that I mentioned in the interviews as well.
Okay. Nice. That's a great de-stressor. I've also discovered cooking during COVID. I think it really sometimes it acts as therapy. That's what I feel. Okay, we'll take maybe a couple more questions, folks. I'm just going to quickly announce. I should have done this in the beginning, but anyway, 23 aspirants. If you're considering joining a course, if you're considering 2IIM, just want to let you know that we're running just specially for this live stream. And believe me, I requested the team to do this. But if you're watching this live stream and you're considering joining a 2IIM course, you can get a 6,000 rupee off on all our courses, which includes live and self-paced as well. It's a fantastic deal. So definitely this offer is valid till Sunday night. You can, the numbers will be sent on chat. You can call up that number or email info@2IIM.com and avail this offer. Just let them know that you watched the live stream and they'll be happy to give you the 6,000 rupee off on all our courses, valid till Sunday. Okay. The commercial break is over. I'll go back to questions. Okay. Akshat is asking, anything you guys neglected during your prep, which you regret? Or maybe, if you could go back in time, you would do it differently.
Maybe I can answer this.
Go ahead, Kavit. Go ahead.
I would have worked better on my VRC is what I feel now. It was.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say
Rohan,
the exact same thing. I think looking at my scores in verbal, maybe I could have worked on verbal more.
Right.
But I do believe that sometimes, like I said, things just don't go your way. So
Correct.
I do believe that.
You were doing quite well in your mocks. Your mock scores were good. It's just that D-Day didn't sort of work out, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Other than that, I wouldn't say anything majorly different. So
okay. Nice. Chaandini?
So I just wanted to say that it's not specific to CAT prep, but once I started preparing for interviews, I realized that I was not really aware of what's happening around.
Right.
Yeah. So, and only after I started preparing for CAT, I started reading newspapers on a day-to-day basis, but I had no idea before that. So
Yeah.
I wish I had kept myself updated
Correct.
then and there.
Completely agree. That's a good point. Current affairs, folks, again, most students will do it after CAT. But then it becomes a lot. It becomes a lot to take in if you don't have that habit. So, start reading the newspaper, start sort of at least be aware of what's happening around you. And one tip from my end, if you think your communication skills are not up to par, your spoken English and your speaking skills, the time to work on it, the time to start working on it is now. You won't be able to improve your speaking skills in 2 months or 3 months after CAT. It at least will take 6 months. Start working on it now if you want to if you think that's an area of development for you. All right, let's take maybe 2 more questions. How many hours did you put in when you were working? Okay, so Sanjana, they did answer this question. I think Kavit answered this question, but maybe Akeb, Rohan, and Chaandini can chime in. I think Chaandini also mentioned this. How many hours did you folks put in? All 4 of you are working. How many hours did you put in during the week? How many hours did you put in during the weekend? Just sort of tentatively. Anyone? Rohan?
Sure. So I'd say when I was working, I try my best to put in 2 hours a day.
Okay.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes, you have a long day. Sometimes you have work commitments. So I again, like Kavit mentioned, I think consistency is the more important thing rather than, the quantity of work that you put in on one day. I think actually putting in work every day is much more important. So whether it be, even just solving one DILR set or just doing 10 quant questions, I think just doing something every day is much more important than the amount of work that you put in.
Completely agree. And I think I'll reiterate what Kavit said earlier. He was like, on a bad day when I didn't feel like working, I spend 30 minutes, right? And then pick up your favorite section. Let's say Monday, right? Monday is, of course, manic Monday, right? You didn't have a good Monday. You come back, you don't feel like preparing. Don't pick up a section which is tough. Pick up a section that you like, do it for 30 minutes, move on. Then on days when you feel like you can conquer the world, pick up the section that is not your strong point and then go all out, right? And sometimes the 30 minutes can lead to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that I'd add over here is that, like, do not measure the time or count the time. Count the number of sets that you're doing, count the number of questions that you're doing. So this is a better approach to it, is what I feel.
I agree. And you can probably set targets according to that as well, right? Going back to Rohan's point, we're setting a weekly target. Instead of time, set like, okay, I'll solve 2 DLR sets per day or 5 DLR sets in a week, 5 RC passes in a week and something like that. I think that's a really good tip. Chaandini, what about you? How many hours?
Yeah, I think 2 to 3 hours per day on an average, apart from the classes I attend. And on during weekends, 5 to 6 hours.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty consistent prep. Okay, folks, we're running out of time. I think we've overshot as expected. let's take one more thing and then we'll end the stream. Okay, so I'll close off by asking you folks. I think they've already shared their tips and all of that. I think that part is done. Let's look ahead, right? You folks are headed to some of the best schools in the country, and we just had a meetup, by the way, in the office with some of our Chennai students, and I was telling them that if I were you, I would be like very excited to go to these schools and back to the classroom and study, especially folks with work experience, right? I'm sure you're itching to go back to school. Tell me one thing that you're most excited about when it comes to going back to B school. What are you most excited about? We'll start with Akib.
One thing, hey, come on. Yeah, food is something that I'm looking forward to.
Lucknow, yeah, it's a non-vegetarian paradise. Yeah,
food is something that I'm looking forward to, and I think it's been a long time, being in a classroom setting and with peers and all that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to as well. And meeting the professors, meeting the peers, getting yourself out there and just enjoying the time. So yeah,
I'm so jealous. Rohan, what about you?
I think for me, one thing is definitely the growth that I will experience in the next 2 years. I feel like a lot of people come out of B school a different person than they go in, and I do believe that that is something that I'm really looking forward to, and that is something that I want to achieve. So another thing would obviously be like Akib said, classroom, sitting in the classroom, learning from your peers. I think that is a really exciting thing as well. So
nice, very nice. Kavit, what about you?
So two things. One thing Akib already mentioned is that again getting back to academia. Since I have been like out of a classroom for like almost 5 years now, so this is something that I look forward to. And of course, the second thing would be the campus. My interview was on the campus itself, and I did take a lot of pictures and sent it to my friends. I remember sending it to Sudarshan as well and texting him that hope this is not the last time I come back to this campus.
Oh man, okay, yeah, and that's amazing.
And I also remember that there are relatives who are not very much aware about Bangalore or IIM Bangalore or IIM in general. So what I mentioned to them is that I am going to the same college where 3 idiots for short.
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
3 idiots.
So I'm going to the same college where 3 idiots for short.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, amazing. Good reference point. Good reference point for relatives, right? Who don't understand where he's going. That's great. Amazing. Chaandini, go ahead. What about you?
Yeah, I'm also definitely excited to go back to a classroom setting. And apart from that, throughout my school and college life, I've always been a studious kid, focusing only on studies. So I definitely am going to make it a point to develop as a personality during my MBA and explore a lot of things. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Nice. So first venture coming en route to Calcutta. Nice, very nice. Amazing, folks. I think this has been a brilliant session. I've personally enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure all the 23 aspirants have, have gained a lot of value. I think one thing, a lot of folks come to us as teachers and come to Rajesh, and they look for motivation, right? Which is great. Folks can give you all the motivation, but these will just be words that Rajesh or I can give you, right? I think the best motivation is this. Right, the best motivation is looking at these guys, learning about their journeys, getting best practices from them, and also sort of understanding that their journey was full of ups and downs. It wasn't straight, right? There were so many moments when they were down, but they picked themselves up, right? They stayed positive, had a good positive mindset, and now they're going to the best B schools in the country, and you folks can do it as well, right? So I think definitely I hope this was very motivating for you. To the 4 of you, I think for what it's worth, I'm incredibly proud of all of you. And I think all of us at 2IIM are very proud of you. There's nothing more valuable for a teacher than to see, their students succeed. And of course, this is completely on you. The credit goes to you. It goes to your hard work and your sincerity, right? So congratulations, folks. Very well done. All the best for the journey ahead. Of course, it's not goodbye. We'll keep in touch, but Godspeed. Have fun in B school and keep crushing it. Right. All the very best, and thank you for joining this session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.